Okay, a little brief overview on a John Deere 770 GP. These machines are designed to be pretty easily serviced from the ground. All your filters are all right here. Oil filters and fuel and hydraulic and everything. All coolers can be blown out from on the ground here. You can take this bolt out and this bolt up here and pull your AC coil out. Main radiator is right there. Ripper joints are sealed bearings so they don't ever get greased. You can take these bolts loose right here and swing this rear door open and service the radiator from there. Battery disconnect switch is right here. Check your oil levels. There's hydraulic oil levels. Everything is all pretty easily looked at from the ground. This just got a main blade. It doesn't have a knockdown blade. It's got counterweight up here. These did come as a front wheel drive was an option on these also. I think it was the 772s or the 777s that were front wheel drive. Of course it articulates in the middle, which is pretty common on any modern grader. Cab controls are a little different in this machine. You'll notice that it's got the levers instead of the joysticks like the M-Series Caterpillars have. This has got the 8-lever blade controls. The older style, they used to be up here on the front and you would lean this whole thing back and they had a larger steering wheel and you had to steer with your knees. And with this style they kind of made a pretty major change. Of course the controls are electronic instead of hydraulic, and you pretty much don't use the steering wheel anymore. You still have a steering wheel. It's got a pedal here, you can lean it back to you, but you can't reach it with your knees. So I guess you could use your hand on it like this, but I don't really ever use the steering wheel because it has got steering in this lever right here. You can steer the front end. So I'll go over the levers with you. Of course this is the blade, lift and lower. This is the side shift on the blade, runs the blade left and right. This control is your turntable to turn your blade to the left or the right. This control here runs the ripper shank up and down. The ripper's on the back end, and then tilts your blade forward and back. You know, pitches the blade pitch for, you know. This control side shifts your frame. This control is your articulation, and it's got an automatic center feature on there. This tilts your front wheels, and then this raises and lowers your blade. Visibility is pretty good out of these. Some difference between this and a Caterpillar. In a Caterpillar, you have a post right here, and your door frame then sits about right here, which actually covers up the end of your blade. Where the John Deere, the door frame is back farther, and you got a little bit better visibility of your blade. And another benefit is this back window. You can just turn around and look at your ripper shank and your back wheels and everything. You can see pretty easy where you're backing up. And of course you can also see that with your mirrors and with your back mirror here as well. So let's go ahead and do a startup. It's electronic controls. There's no key on this, and instead what you have is a keypad here, and you can turn on the power up the keypad, enter in whatever your code is, and then hit start, and it'll start the motor. Right now we've got the keypad open, so it's just you turn on your power and push and hold start. Oh, I didn't have it in park. And the motor starts up. And your computer screen goes through its startup. So you'll see one of the gauges there is the articulation gauge, and as you articulate, it shows you your angle of articulation. And then when you hit the return button, it automatically centers up. It's kind of bouncing around this morning. Okay. This machine is originally equipped with a auto slope control, where you can turn this feature on here. You hit A and it shows you right there your desired slope. You can adjust that slope with these two buttons right here. There's the increment, increase and decrease increments, and so you can bring that slope up or you can bring that slope down. You designate which side you want to be the slave, and it will turn the slope control on. And then once you do that, you've designated this side as your slave, this side as your master. When you raise and lower the blade, it will automatically raise and lower both sides. Now, of course, this machine has got a lot of hours on it, and so it's got 4,100 hours on it. So I think this system's having some glitches, because sometimes it'll come on and sometimes it won't. Yeah, it's gonna be glitchy. It's not gonna come on. Well, anyhow, when it comes on, it'll say auto up here, and then you can basically, when you're running this, then you can control the blade just with this lever, because you've designated this one as the slave. That makes this one the master, and it will run the blade up and down just with this lever, and then you can steer with this lever, and you can actually do a pretty good job without having to use so many controls. It also has float features where you can float the blade, you can float both sides, you can float one side. Your transmission control, there's release it out of the park position, then you've got, of course, your forward gears and reverse gears. There's your throttle control. You can set the auto throttle and you can run the throttle up. It releases the throttle if you tap the brakes, but there is also a throttle release pedal, a deceleration pedal right there at your heel, that you can hit with the heel for when you're doing, they call it a creeper pedal. Of course, your main throttle pedal, brake pedal, and your clutch pedal, this has an actual clutch in it. It's not a torque converter, it's a regular clutch drive. And so it has a stall control feature on here that if you get yourself into a situation where you're going to stall the thing, it will actually kick it into neutral, and you have to put it in park and then you can go back into gear again. Pretty good machine when it's working, when everything's working, but like I said, that slope control is getting kind of glitchy in it. It's got good power, good control. One of the things that I like about this over the Caterpillar M series is that on these controls, they are very, very precise. They're very tight, and you can see. I'll just give you an example, and if I can get the front wheel in the picture, just the slightest little movement of this control moves your front wheels. Okay, It's very precise. Same thing with your blade control. Just a slight little movement like that, and if you watch that blade, it'll jump. I mean, I'm only moving my pinky maybe 1/4 of an inch, and that blade will move. In the Caterpillar M series, you've got the pistol grips, and a lot of times you really have to do a lot of movement, and there's twisting and all of that. I guess it's just whatever you get used to. But I've run enough of the older graders with the antler type controls that I'm used to these. The pistol grips are good, and I do like them also, but I don't have any problem running one of these. Some of the other features, there's a diff lock, and then you've got an automatic. You can put the diff lock in auto mode. So it's right there as you're operating. That switch is just right there. You can see if your diff is on or not. Air conditioning controls are down here, and the stereo is up here. It's got wipers. These windows have wipers on them, and they do open and close. The front window, of course, has got a wiper. The side windows do open and close. If your air conditioning goes out, which the air conditioning doesn't work too good on this thing. And I think that's about it for the John Deere 770 GP.